What's up, everybody? It's Soren Baker here on Unique Access. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share to our channel. All you got to do is hit that button. As you all know, it's free. But let's keep it growing and building because we're trying to keep bringing all these great interviews to you guys. And today is no exception. We have the honor and the privilege of being joined by icon in the game, Craig G. Thank you for coming through, sir.
What's happening, sir? Look, I don't trust a lot of journalists, but you're one, so you're one I trust. So, I don't really do a lot of interviews, so I appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah, it's exciting. Craig and I have known each other and interacted for probably 20 years, give or take. And
Yeah,
it's always great talking with Craig, man, because I'm a big fan of his work and what he's brought to the game for a lot of people's stuff people have seen and a lot that they haven't seen. So,
yeah, I
well,
appreciate that, man. You always give me a fair shake, so.
hey, that's what I'm here for, man. And I love the music, as you know. So that's what we're
Yes,
here
sir.
for. Now, Craig, we're going to get to a lot of Craig's historical greatness. But what we're here today for also is some of his current greatness, which is his new project, The Fragile Ego. And when he reached out to me about it and sent it to me, I was very impressed, as usual, with this stuff. But we're going to get into a lot of that today. So the title is The Fragile Ego. You also have a song called that. But let's start with the project itself. What is, for you, the meaning of the title and how and why you wanted to make this particular project?
Um, you know, I feel like, probably in the last, even like probably almost 20 years, I have been making independent projects, and the bulk of it has always been rapping about rap. Just, talking about the state of the business, how I thought the music was better back then, how shady the industry is. And this particular project really excites me because every song is about a real life situation. This is not, not just rapping about rap, as I coined earlier. This is more real life. And The Fragile Ego is about relationships between just human beings, period. And I think that it's very relatable without being corny.
Yeah,
So that's really, really what's exciting about it. Like The Fragile Ego pretty much represents how a lot of people forget they're human and that they make mistakes and that they may be wrong about things, and it's very hard to admit. And that's the climate we in now. You know what I mean? So that's what it really was basically for. Like when you disagree with someone nowadays, they get sensitive. So that's what it is. Yeah.
and then do you remember, or was there anything specific in your growth and evolution as a person that made you come to this realization and made you want to change your lyrical thematic direction for this project?
In the beginning of the year, man, it was just a lot going on. I was just thinking about where I was in life and, relationships I have with people and how some of them were kind of going left when it could have just been simply fixed with a real honest conversation. And I just wanted to put those feelings and emotions on the song, on the project. And then there's one of the songs called Dear Daddy, where it's actually about a friend of mine whose daughter is my goddaughter, and I was just watching the situation with him. And a lot of dads and co-parenting situations don't get a fair shake, and I just wanted to speak from his perspective on that. So again, it was just a myriad of emotions of stuff I was going through. And usually when you're rapping about rap, you kind of just stick your chest out and you don't really be honest with the people. So I just wanted to open up and be honest, and it felt very therapeutic at that.
Yeah, well, that was a. I don't know if the sequence I have is right, but Dear Daddy's toward the end of what I had. But let's get into
Yeah.
that. Let's get into that one now, because the thing that I liked, well, one of the many things I liked and appreciated about that song was that in rap, a lot of times we hear about the deadbeat dad or the disappearing dad or the dad that tries to buy the kids love, where your song shows another side of it. Yeah, the parents aren't together, but the dad is showing love, is trying to be there. You want to talk to the dad. The dad is your role model. So I think with all art, we need to have a balance. And this song,
Yes, absolutely.
and I think that this song does a great job of that. So for you, what's the significance of putting this type of message out about dads, even if they're not together with the mom?
Because in a lot of cases, women are way more emotional than men. And, what happens in a lot of breakups when you as a child involved, the woman doesn't really get over it and kind of, and I'm not saying all of them, but kind of hinders the relationship between the father and the daughter and makes it about them personally and just makes things really hard. And it shouldn't be that way, especially with a girl. Like, their dad should be in the picture. I mean, all kids' dads should be in the picture, but especially with a girl, because a woman cannot teach a girl something from a guy's perspective, except unless it's bitter from the relationship not working out. And I just really wanted to cover that side. You know what I mean? So when you hear the song, you will hear a lot of the things that she was doing, like subliminally, to kind of mess up the relationship and not have them make a bond as well as they could have.
Right. And I think that's a very powerful part of the song, but then also the fact of like the kid saying the dad is the role model, the dad's who she aspires to be, which I also think is important because especially the way it's portrayed in the media a lot of times with black and brown families, we don't hear that the kid saying, I want to be like my dad. So that also,
Yeah.
I also thought that was important because I know plenty of, in particular, black and brown men that are great fathers and that do a great
Yeah.
job, you know?
Yeah. Well, like in the beginning of the song where I'm like, I'm just a child, hate something I ain't learned yet. This fire burns constantly in a like a furnace. It's like you're teaching a child something that they have no business learning from another person. It's to be something they learn on their own, And again, it's like you said, in a lot of the quote unquote minority families, they get broken up because of a lot of pride and a lot of back and forth that can be probably easily fixed if you both had an honest conversation with each other. And I just, again, wanted to speak on the other side of it. You know what I mean? So that was really what it was, where I know a lot of good dads who have problems with the child's mother because the mother's just not over the fact that they're not together as a family unit. And that makes the child suffer. So,
Absolutely. Got to put the child first.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Fortunately for me, my son is 25 and he's a rapper now, so I don't have those issues. I have other issues like get a real job. So
yes.
So
Don't go down this path.
no, please. Especially now where, you get pennies on the dollar. So
Right. Well,
yeah.
that's one thing. Now, on another relationship song, the Away From Me, also on the Fragile Ego, the Away From Me song, what I liked about that was that, you're explaining why certain people stay single and some of the frustrations of these interpersonal relationships, but you did it from, yes, there's emotion involved, but it wasn't from spewing venom thing. It's more of an intellectual exercise as opposed to an emotional one. So why did you look at it that way?
Because I went through it. And instead of being angry about it, the whole purpose of it was questioning it because I didn't have the answers to it. And it's basically about how men and women don't understand that no matter how close you may be, no matter how long you may be together, you're always going to have fundamental differences because it's just the way we think. And sometimes, again, pride gets in the way of that. And it turns into, well, you're not acting like I want. And I'm like, that's impossible because I'm a guy. You know what I mean? And I just really wanted to touch on that to the point where it's like, again, it's the fragile ego, again, is about simple misunderstandings that if you honestly sat down and talked with each other about and tried to see both sides, maybe things could work out in a better fashion. And speaking of which, it's like when you're speaking on Dear Daddy, there's a line in there where I'm like, let me know you're safe. And she's like, you're not my father. And it's like, see, that's a daddy issue thing. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's going to control me. Nobody. And it's like, I asked my mother to let me know she's home safe. You know what I mean? It's, it's not a control thing. Everyone doesn't want to be controlled. It's like the mask thing going on right now. When some things are just out of a genuine, caring place.
Right.
And that gets lost in the whole language of each other,
Absolutely. And I think that it's also you having the line in there about taking a single friend's advice of the relationships too, because maybe that at that time might not be the right perspective you need.
You know what? You don't honestly, in a relationship, you don't need anyone's perspective except the two people involved in a relationship.
Right.
That's it. All outside matters only mess things up all the time. And, most of these people that are speaking have their own problems in relationships. No one's an expert at this. This is all about basically being able to tolerate each other's flaws, basically. It's like this thing now, I don't know if it's social media or this instant gratification thing where everything has to be perfect, and there's no such thing as perfect. There's no such thing as it. Nothing is perfect. Right. There are perfect moments, but nothing's completely perfect because you can't control the way life moves. You just along for the ride.
Right.
I need like a Buddha hat or something right now. Right? I know you've never heard me speak like this, but I'm getting up there, brother. I'm getting up there in age, and this is life experience,
Yeah. Well, one thing tied into that also bridges the age and generational gap per se is that this song, as well as others, have scratching on it, which I was really excited about. And with that, with the main source looking at the front door in there. So because, in my opinion, to the detriment of rap, we've gotten away from scratching and adding these other elements into the songs. You have that on several songs on the Fragile Ego, including Away From Me. So why?
It's actually on all of them except one.
Well,
scratches on all of them except one. And I like to shout out my man Shy the Beat Yoda. He's from Toronto, and he's a friend of the producer who's from Toronto. His name is Fruition, and they just added their touches to it, and it was like so impressed for me to work from a new perspective and totally trust some guys to like add stuff to it without me having a predisposed thought of it, and just hearing it and like accepting it and knowing, like I said earlier, I'm not perfect. So, I'm not really, the only problem I had, which we fixed, was I was very afraid of using scratches by deceased people. That's quick to get your album pulled because the states run those publishing, and you put in all the hard work and you put it out, and someone's like, that wasn't cleared, and you get the album pulled, and it's a complete waste. But other than that, man, the scratches were perfect. Shy to Beat Yoda actually did scratches on a Brooklyn Story as well for Master Ace and them. So
yeah. And then one of probably my favorite usage of that is on Limelight Master, just hearing the multitude of them, but then with M.O.P. and Shantae in particular, it was exciting and refreshing to hear different types of people scratched and utilized in that way. And with that song tying into a lot of the theme of the project, there's, the talk about skipping over your own demons and different types of things. So why and how have you found that people do that, and how do you try to avoid skipping over your own demons as well?
I was speaking about myself in some of that, though. I was speaking like, as far as maybe not the limelight, but just chasing this business, which I've done for 30 plus years, man. And it's been great moments. It's been terrible moments. It's been very even keel moments. But to be honest with you, it's never really completely made me happy. And it's more of a warning to people to when you get into entertainment, it's very easy to get wrapped up in it, and your ego and everything else can kind of get out of control. And as far as me starting so young and being in it for so long, I realized I was treating everyone like I was Craig G. Like I'm in the music business. And a lot of people, you know, speaking to people a certain way. You know how you have to speak in business and everybody's trying to take advantage of you. But what I was realizing is that family, everybody I would speak to like that. Like I never had a chance to separate Craig from Craig G.
Wow.
And that song is kind of a warning for that, kind of, yeah.
And do you think that's because you got into the industry when you were so young, or what do you attribute it to?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you know, I started at 12, you know, and basically, like I said, this is all I knew. All I knew. And I mean, I can talk about it now, or we can talk about it later, but what I decided this year was to go to school. And I started Monday. And it's not about money. I don't really have any terrible money issues. It's just about something new in my life. It's in the medical field, and maybe it'll humble me, and maybe I'll help some people. And for once in my life, I won't have to treat the hip hop business like my life depends on it. And it'll probably make me way more happier and probably way more tolerable around certain people. You know what I mean? So I'm excited about this, actually. So.
Well, it's also interesting too, because at least for me, when I learn something in one field, it might help me with something else I'm doing anyway. So if you're, like you said, if you're able maybe to take some of the pressure, quote unquote, off of your creative side, maybe it'll open you up totally to create and try new things that you hadn't done yet. Or
I just want to have fun again.
Yeah.
Like, you know, COVID also is a real eye opener, you know, because out of all of the things that are slowly coming back, shows are going to be very last on the list. Very last. And this is the perfect time for you to maybe tap into something else that you might be interested in, because you're going to have time. You know what I mean? So this is what I decided. And, you know, I was thinking about it for years and I was fighting it, you know, also being in this so long and having its ups and downs. I had a lot of pride and ego about, okay, I'm going to show everybody that they were wrong and this, that, and the third. And I had to really man up and let those feelings go. So, you know, it's actually already slowly but surely, I'm just starting to relax more. And, you know, I stopped smoking weed like a month ago. Yeah, a lot of things, man. A lot of different things are going on right now with me. So
how has stop smoking weed affected you?
Weird dreams. I'm having weird dreams because I guess your brain is readjusting. But I've smoked every day for, you know, 20 something years. I just if I'm doing something different, I'm gonna do something different in a lot of different aspects. Same with the project coming out, with going to school and everything else. I just wanted to do things with a clear head. You know what I'm saying? So I may smoke again, but it's not, I don't even miss it at this point. So it's not affecting my rhyme writing or anything like that. So, you know.
Okay. And one of the other interesting songs was the Narcissist theme song, in the sense that we have gotten to, I think, generally speaking, obviously not everyone is like this, but to a large degree, we've gotten to a place in our society where people only want to interact with those that they think they can get something from. And this song,
Yes.
Yeah, so I think this song does a good job of addressing that and examining it. So, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, that's the next single. Actually, I'm actually waiting to see the first cut of the video today, and we're gonna drop it on the release date, which is September 4th. And that song is also about, one, the word itself has been overly used, like triggered and everything else to me. I feel like anyone with a laptop or a phone that's looking at some, you know, YouTube psychologist or someone who's not getting their way from someone, that person's a narcissist. You know, like it's this sensitive society. So technically the song was about a narcissist calling someone a narcissist, you know? And that's what it's about. And, you know, just explaining how it's very draining to deal with someone who's not aware of their own issues, but constantly pointing out yours.
And that's a
definition of a narcissist.
Right. And I think back to a theme of our conversation today is that if people really had real conversations instead of automatically pulling up this defensive wall around their mind, body, and spirit, that a lot of problems will be resolved, or at least you'd understand someone else's perspective. Even if you don't agree, you can at least, okay, that makes sense. I'm not agreeing with that, but okay.
Yeah. If I don't see, that's the thing. Now it's like if you don't agree with someone, you hate them.
Right.
Look, I never was brought up, maybe because I traveled a lot throughout my lifetime. I never thought everyone should share the same perspective.
Yeah.
And no one will ever share the same perspective. You'll agree with some things, you'll disagree with some things, but some people just do not like to be disagreed with at all.
That makes them very disagreeable.
Yes. It's like terrible. It's like, you know, well, you know, nah, you know, I like the color green better. You're minimizing my feelings. And it's like, it's okay if you like blue. It's fine. It's not a problem. It's okay. I'm just saying I like green. Can I have that, please? You know? So that's what that song basically touches on. It touches on just how that word is just starting to be used overly, because honestly, we're all a little bit narcissistic. All of us, everyone. But some are more severe than others because they do not allow outside perspectives into their life.
Right. Well, we have to have narcissism in order to survive. It's what people would say a Darwinistic thing, in the sense that we have to believe what we're doing is right to some degree.
Good words, Darwinistic, absolutely.
Yeah, because we have to believe in ourselves. That's a foundation of success.
Yes, but don't let it dim my shine, because then you're just a terrible narcissist. Yes.
Right.
Let me not think about myself at all.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, if I'm not all right, I can't help you.
The title track has Master Ace on it, and he's the only guest. And I think yourself and Ace, we'll talk about him for a second, but he, to me, is one of the greatest rappers ever. He's a phenomenal artist, has had so many brilliant conceptual albums and examined things. And like you do on The Fragile Ego, he's looked at himself, he's looked at society, he's looked at so many things throughout his career, and he's brilliant, in my opinion. So for you, obviously, you have the Juice Crew connection and worked with them for years, but what made the title track the one that you wanted him on for this project?
Well, one, you know, out of a lot of the Juice Crew members, probably besides Marley, me and Ace hung out the most. And Ace was always a really heavy thinker. And you can hear it in his music. And, you know, as I was doing the project, I was inspired by the way he does things, where it's just open, honest dialogue, even if it's a story about someone else. And I sent him a few tracks that I had already did, and he picked that one. And, you know, that song, again, is about how, you know, people will feel offended and disrespected by anything. And that's that word trigger again. You know what I mean? And I saw an interesting thing where it said something to the effect of triggers are just reminders of things that you refuse to heal from.
Okay.
And if I take it a step further, I think in some cases, it's an excuse for you to act out over things that you refuse to heal from.
That was going to be,
know?
that's an important factor, I think, because like everything, you want to be able, in different ways, we want and need to be able to control things. But I think controlling your emotions, you have to have them. You can't eliminate them, but you have to be able to control them to where you're using them judiciously as opposed to letting them control you to where you're,
Yeah.
losing yourself per se.
I battle with it sometimes, but what I'm learning to do really is to I'm an Aries, which I know a lot. Maybe if you're not in the astrology or whatever, we kind of have no filter. And what I'm learning to do now is start to take a deep breath and process the information first before I answer.
Yeah, I'm an Aries.
Because
I'm an Aries too.
so yeah, you know how it is. Sometimes you might just hear one word of the sentence and be like, "What?" So now I'm trying to be a better listener. And look, it's a process. It's a process. I mean, speaking of which, not to double back on Narcissist theme song, the video is basically me talking to a therapist.
Hmm.
And I have a therapist in real life now.
Oh, so when and why did you do that?
The music business, man, it did a number on me. Again, it did a number on me where it's made me stubborn. There's another song on the project that kind of explains a lot of that. So,
My bad.
yep.
Well, let's
Yep.
jump in.
Wow.
Let's jump into my bad then, because
Mm-hmm.
you say this on the Fragile Ego project a few times in a few different ways, but my bad is the one where you put the mirror on yourself. I'd say the most, and
Yes.
you also explain it's very autobiographical and I think very powerful. But you're saying yes, these things happen to me, but also I made these mistakes too, and
Yes.
and for me, those are the best type of songs and the best type of things where it's the full circle, you know, and
That's
it's
why I put it last.
okay.
That's why I put it last on the project. Yeah.
Why?
Um, because someone told me the other day, the guy that did the video for Limelight, he said a lot of people are gonna think you're talking about them on this project because you're growing, and a lot of these people that may not be may feel like you're pointing the finger at them. But to be honest with you, a lot of the stuff, even where it seems like that, I'm talking about myself as well. But on my bad, there's a very important line in there where I say, my hard work brought the same results, left me feeling broken. I wasn't even an adult. And you have to understand where you see it go wrong for a lot of child stars in any form of entertainment. You're not supposed to be dealing with what is deemed as a failure at 12 years old if something doesn't go right. And that can shape you as you get older. And it could give you a chip on your shoulder. It can give you a lot of bad energy. And that's why I decided to go to therapy and just get a different perspective on life from someone. And to be honest with you, it's helping me, man. It's helping me a lot. I wasn't 5150 crazy, anything like that. I just had to understand that the way I seen things was from my own bubble. And in a lot of cases, it just wasn't good for people around me.
Well,
So in this song, I decided to own up to my stuff and apologize, just sincerely. Like, it may not fix everything, but I just want to let people know, look, I understand and I'm sorry,
yeah, but the other thing that I like about the song is that there's so many layers to it because you talk about how you enjoy writing by yourself, or you don't mind being by yourself, and there's so much to the song I think that's very valuable, and that some people that bothered, like, oh, how come you don't need people around to have that satisfaction, but on the flip side of it, I think people have to understand, like, you have to be comfortable with yourself first. And regardless of in your song and any other things in your life, when you're happy and you're by yourself, that can intimidate other people. that can offend other people, but that you have to have that relationship with yourself first.
Very standoffish I was. But you got to also understand, as I say in the song too, and a lot of artists or people who feel drawn to something in the art world, whether it's music, painting, whatever, you could get so deep into it that it can make you, and I've said this in the song, emotionally unavailable.
Right.
And that's really what happens. Like, you know, as a kid, I sat writing rhymes 3 a.m. at night, taping all of the great rap shows that came on, and I didn't really care about anybody around me. This was the world I was in. And, you know, when you're like that, it's kind of hard to deal with people, and you're kind of tepid of letting people in. And again, it can affect your life, man. And so late in my years, I had to look back and think about some of this stuff and, you know, just try to look at things from a different perspective once again, like I said. So
now, to me, it's interesting because Dear Daddy and My Bad, I think, are my favorite 2 songs on the album, but they're also the last 2 songs on The Fragile Ego. So, from a sequencing business perspective, did you have any fears since those 2 are so powerful that they're the last one? Or, like, how and why is it comfortable for you to put these super heavyweight, incredible songs as the last 2?
well, because the whole project is short and sweet. It's only 7 songs. So it kind of builds. Like I said, it starts out with confusion with Away From Me. Then it goes into Limelight, where at the same time where it seems like I'm talking about society, I'm talking about things that I probably chased more than I should have and how it affected me. Then it goes in the Narcissist theme song, where again you're just questioning everything. You're questioning everything, because one of the hardest things in this entire world, which should be the easiest, is 2 people communicating. You would think after all of civilization, we would get this right at some point, you know? And it's still elusive. It's the strangest thing, you know what I mean? And that's because everyone feels their perspective is way more important than others.
That is true, unfortunately. Yeah, we
Yeah.
got that equality is a very important thing.
Yeah. 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 You know, I say this phrase, look, we all ain't shit. And the minute we realize that, we'll realize we're human, and we'll realize that none of us are always right all the time. None of us are always perfect all the time. We're gonna make mistakes, and that's just what it is. That's part of being a human being. You know what I mean? And it's frustrating, and you can hear it in some songs where I'm just completely frustrated by it, because it's just like, wow, man, you know, when are we gonna get it?
Well, on the one song we haven't talked about, It's a Draw, you talk about how fixing a lifetime of issues is tough. And that's something that I think, as I always am trying to improve and do better myself, I also have to realize I'm not perfect, so I can't be too hard on myself because I'm trying to better myself. I'm trying to be a
Yeah.
better person, a smarter person, a better father, a better partner, all this stuff, all these things. But it's a process. It always is. And that song, It's a Draw, I think does a good job of addressing that.
Well, you know, once again, you deal with people who feel like they never need to grow. They're good where they are. I mean, I've been there. And um, like I said, that lifetime of issues becomes so normal to you because you don't want to face it. And what happens is anyone who tries to address it becomes an enemy, you know? And though parts of it is about relationships with a woman, it's also about life too, you know? Um, I said, if you're in the different perspectives, you need to check out the new joint. because people, again, they hold on to their perspectives like it's the only view in the world. And it's a terrible thing. And like I said, at the end, everybody loses. It's a draw. Nobody wins.
Right.
You know? So why are we even trying to win?
Yeah.
Let's just compromise. That's all. You know?
So now it's 2020. You came out in the 80s. You've been on major labels. You've been on independent labels. Now we're in a totally or almost totally digital world, basically. How do you see the fragile ego, the things you've learned along the way from all these different phases of your career that are going to help you navigate the world we're in now on the business side of things?
What business? What business? Honestly, I just did it to hope it helps some people. That's it. That's it. That's it. I mean, as an indie artist, you have to come into this knowing that it's not going to be that profitable. You know, so I'm just excited about the message. I'm excited about maybe helping some people. That's it. Like, me rapping about rap and how sucky the business is and how rap was better back then and all of that was not contributing to society. And that's what I want to do now. Just make people take a look at themselves, man. It's going to be a hard fought battle, but I think sometimes you can get lost in the music and it can hit you and you can be like, oh wow, you know what? Damn, you know what? I'm kind of like that. Maybe I need to, so that's what I'm hoping. As far as the business goes, we put it out. People like it. People don't like it. I'm not gonna get 100 million streams where I'll get a check for over $10,000. So I'll just have to wait for shows to come back because that was my livelihood. But like I said, man, at this point, I am putting myself in a position where hip hop finances will finally be something secondary to me.
Yeah. Well, congratulations that you're able to make that transition, man. That's good.
I just want to save Craig from Craig G. That's it. I know I'm talking about myself in third person, but I think you understand what I'm saying.
I do, especially
Yeah.
after listening to Fragile Ego and even stuff we had talked about beforehand. It kind of prepped me when we were talking on Instagram. It kind of prepped me for what we were going to get.
Yeah.
So it's all to the good. It's all to the good.
Also, I mean, what's crazy is I have 3 other projects waiting. That's another reason why I decided to do this other move. I have a project with this guy named Big Bob. It's called The Pen is Mightier. It's another project where it's just talking about a lot of issues. And then I have a project with my DJ called Anytime's the Right Time. And it's, then with one of my boys that I go back with, Nasty, we have another project, which I still got to do 2 more songs for. And that project's called Perfect People Scare Me.
What's that one?
Perfect people scare me. I'm afraid of people who think they're perfect.
Gotcha.
I'm very afraid of them. It's very nihilistic. It's very just you should expect stuff from people, but don't expect more than what you should expect from yourself from anyone.
Right.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, now let's take it back a little bit to some of the origin stuff.
Okay.
Because one thing that I think people don't understand or appreciate, and you play a big part in this, is the early Philly connection between pop art and what was going on in New York. Because so many records, including some of your early things, were on a Philadelphia label. So what do you know and remember about how, at least for you and I guess even Shantae, how did that even happen?
What's crazy though? I was never signed to the label. It's weird. I was 12, 13 years old. we put out Shout Rap, and Shout by Tears for Fears was such an urban hit that they played Shout Rap and mixed it with it on the urban stations. And I was in the 7th grade and the song was on the radio all day long. And I got $150 for the record and not another dime because we never cleared it.
Gotcha.
So then I did a second record called Transformers, which was the idea of the label. And I didn't really like the song, and it kind of was terrible. And that's where what I talk about in my bad, where it's like I felt like a failure at 13 because the song didn't go my way. And that's not a healthy thing to feel at that age. So a lot of these things affected me. But I believe that the Philly scene does not get a lot of respect when it comes to hip hop, but they were right there with us in those early days.
Yeah.
So, you know, excuse me. The amazing thing is, a lot of people don't know, all of the pressing plants were in Camden, New Jersey anyway back then. So everybody in Philly had a label. Schoolie D, all of them. They went over the bridge and got everything pressed up. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, Schoolie D's the first rapper with his own label anyway. And
Yeah.
But I think, too, I just always think it's interesting because obviously New York dominated for everything for so long, but that so many influential, significant, and important records from New York artists were coming from Philadelphia, from pop art, from this Philadelphia label.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand or appreciate that. And I always just think that's crazy.
Well, you know what's crazy? Hold on a second, sir.
Yep.
Can you see me? Okay, I'm back.
Yep.
I got a phone call. I was talking to Karan Goodman from the Youngsters. Their dad owned the label, and I'm hearing that they may be doing a documentary about it. So we'll see what happens with that. Yeah,
that's dope.
So yeah, wow. I'm supposed to be doing an interview, and the guy just called me, but we can continue on a little bit. So
okay. Well, yeah. If you just let me know when you got to go, because I don't want to keep you.
This is like a mini press day for me, basically. So.
Okay. All right. Well, let's wrap up, and we'll just meet up another time again. But
yeah.
With the Glamour Girls, for instance, what did that song of Veronica teach you about how things were perceived versus reality for you?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. Again, I think I was 14 then, and they just asked me to do it. I didn't even get paid for the song. And the most weirdest story I remember about that is me staying in the studio all night and getting put on the punishment by my mother because I didn't come home till 6 a.m. at 14 years old. But other than that, I had no idea, what it was about. They just asked me to do it, and I did it, So, I remember the original Veronica, and back then, Answer records were pretty much the norm. So it wasn't really nothing spectacular to me.